to the Learnabout for Google Calendar. Can I just get a quick raise of hands if you can hear me okay? All right, quite a few of you. I'm gonna assume that means that we're good to go on the technology portion. So I will say welcome. Thank you so much for being here. It's wonderful to be able to share these events with you. If you have not attended one of our Learnabout sessions before, glad you came. Please come back. If you have, welcome back. My name is Olivia Morris, and I am the host and creator of these Learnabout sessions. I work for MetroNet. If you are not a Minnesota librarian, you may not have heard of us. MetroNet is a multi-county, multi-type library system located in the Twin Cities, St. Paul and Minneapolis in Minnesota. And what we do is we serve multi-county, that's the 7-county metro area, and multi-type, different types of libraries, academic, school, public, and special libraries. We support them through a variety of programming such as this, events, networking opportunities, scholarships, CE opportunities, all sorts of things. We do a wide variety of things to support our member libraries. So that is who we are. And we like this series so much, we opened them up wide to the Professional Development Alliance. And so we know we're getting people from all over. So I'm glad. Welcome. And I hope you're warmer than it is here. If you're not in Minnesota, it is freezing cold here. It's like 35 degrees right now. So very cold for this time of year, which is why I'm rubbing my hands together. It's freezing in the house right now. So thank you so much. And again, we are talking about Google Calendar today. I am going to go ahead and share my screen one more time, and I'm going to kick off with the presentation here. All right. So talking about Google Calendar, if you were early on in the presentation, you saw me do my first share, you may have noticed that said Google Chrome. Apparently, when I was typing, my fingers typed Chrome, even though my brain was thinking calendar. But luckily, I caught it before we started. So again, I am Olivia Morris, and I work for MetroNet. That's a little bit about who I am. The Learnabout series has been running for a little over a year now. We've been talking about different technology tools. So far, we have stayed in the Google arena. And it was actually born out of a question someone had emailed me and said, hey, can you teach me about, I think it was Docs was the first one. Might have been Drive. I can't remember. It's been a while now. And I said, yeah, sure, I can do that. And so we decided to create this series of trainings just to help people understand these products a little better. But I kind of want to branch out a little and go beyond the Google world. So coming up in January, we're going to be talking about Canva, which is a graphic design program that is out there for people to use. So if you're interested in that, come back in January. And if you have questions or suggestions for things that you would like to learn about, please let me know. I'm happy to do a tutorial on just about anything that we can come across these days. So if you want to know more about our Learnabout series or other programs that we offer, you can visit the web address, metrolibraries.net/events and programs. This slide deck I will make available to you at the end of the session, so you will have access to this for that information. What we're going to do today, I'm going to talk a little bit about calendar. I'm going to give you a tour, like walk you through the actual calendar page, my personal calendar page, so you can see what sort of things can be done with calendar. And then I'm going to talk you through some tips and tricks, and that should take up most of the hour. We will end with a few questions, and I will talk to you about some upcoming events that we are offering. If you have taken one of these before, you know that I am a huge fan of the Google support pages. Google does a lot of things really well, some things not so great, but in this thing, they do really a great job with their help pages. So I have linked to the help page for Google Calendar. It's got everything you could possibly want to know. When I was looking it up, there was something, I can't remember what it was now, but I was going through the details of calendar and there was something I couldn't find. So I went over to the help page and I put in the information and boom, just like that, I had my answer. They're really useful. They also, I noticed for calendar, have a training page. So if you go, it's also linked here in the slide deck. If you go, and as a matter of fact, now that I'm just saying it out loud, I said, oh, I'm going to share this at the end. And of course, I would absolutely share it at the end, right up until the moment we got talking about something else, and I completely forgot to share it at the end. So why not, while thinking about it, just drop that slide deck in the chat so you guys have access to it as well. That's just so much easier, isn't it? So feel free to go ahead and grab the slide deck and reuse it. If you're going to be teaching people about calendar, you're welcome to any of this information. I am happy to allow you to do it. Just please give me proper attribution and I'm good. So training pages, there are just some brief kind of walkthroughs that they do on specific areas of calendar, especially with regard to like importing and exporting, which if you've been like, say, a Microsoft Outlook user for years, and now you're switching to a Google product and you want to bring that over, that's possible through the calendar. I'm not going to touch on that today. That's a little more advanced, but you can find a training tutorial on it through that link right there. And then we are going to do a tour. So right now I am going to pop out. Oh, I'm seeing something in the Q&A. Let me check that quickly. Is it possible to go back and visit view trainings we missed? Yes, Karen, great question. In the end of the slide deck, I have a URL to the Metronet YouTube channel. All of our events and programs on there, but there is a playlist for previous Learnabouts. So everything that I have done so far, docs, drive, slides, sheets, Chrome, sites, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Kate says, I do not see the chat link posted. Let me drop it one more time. You know what? Thank you very much, Kate. It turns out I was only sending that to the hosts, which is me. So apparently I sent that link to myself. Awesome. Thanks for catching that, Kate. Everyone should be able to see that link in the chat now. Okay. And I didn't say this earlier, but if you do have questions, chat or the Q&A function are fine. Please, at any time, go ahead and drop those in there, and I will get to them before the end of the presentation. So moving right along, let's jump over to Google Calendar. So this is what Google Calendar looks like. This is my work calendar, although I will say I have integrated it. So I have my professional, my personal, and then my coworker, my boss's information is on there as well. So I did clear it with her. We're all good, but I just wanted you to make sure that that you know what you're seeing there. This is my live calendar. So this is what it looks like when you see calendar. I'm just going to walk you through some of the features, and then I'll dig into some of the nitty-gritty bits that I think are really useful to know. So on the left, we have this that says main menu. This has always confused me. I feel like it's just, I don't know, labeled weird or something, but this right here, this left sidebar is actually the main menu. What this does is it opens and closes that sidebar. That's all it does. So it's just a way to open and close that sidebar. So the main menu is right here. And if you don't want it visible because you want your calendar full screen, you have that option as well. Calendar, this button right here that says today, this will always bring you back to today's calendar page. So if you are actually looking at a daily view of your calendar, so like this right here, this is the view of today, October 17th, you're seeing me and you're seeing the other calendars that I have access to as well, which I can turn on and off. I'll get to that in a minute. But if I'm on this day and I'm like, well, I want to see what I'm doing next week on Monday, I can click forward. That's what these forward and back arrows are for. But then rather than click back, if I just want to go back to today, just a quick boom. So no matter how far you navigate, if you look a year in advance to see if something is free, or if your yearly reminder pops up, or whatever it is you're looking for, or if you've gone back in the past to search from something, you can always hit that today button to bring it back to the present. So this, what you're looking at is, here's the current month and year. And this is a monthly view. This is what I prefer. I like the monthly view. You may not. And that is easily switched. And I'll get to that in just one second. Before I do, I'm going to continue across this top toolbar. The next thing that we see is the search. Calendar has a really great ability to search. You can simply type in a name of a person or an event or a location, anything that if you're looking for something and need to know, you can just type that in here. There's also an advanced, if you click that arrow on the right-hand side of the search bar, it gives you the ability to kind of zero in. So if you're looking for something, I need to know what day that we did this particular meeting. I know we had it, and et cetera, et cetera. You can search using a lot of different options. You can search through your active calendars. You can search through all calendars, which sometimes can be useful because it's not on a calendar you thought it was on, et cetera. Dates, ranges, if you know it was in a particular year or whatever. So really great search feature available to you. That little magnifying glass is always up there. Right next to that is support. If you click on that support, you can actually get to that help link that I posted in the slide deck. So it's just a quick access to get it right when you're in there dealing with calendar. You can find that help that you need. The settings wheel right next to that, which we will be coming back to because there's a lot of good stuff in there. This box right here, this is your view. So right now we're looking at month. As I showed you, I had switched it to look at day. And you may have noticed that when I switched it to day before, I didn't actually come over here and click on this. I used a keyboard shortcut to jump between that, which we are going to talk about, but I will just let you know right now, the keyboard shortcuts to switch between the calendar views correspond to the letter with which they start. So day is D, week is W, M is month, year is Y, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So right now we're on day. If I hit W on my keyboard, you get a weekly view. Here's your yearly view right here. S takes me to settings. That's another one that is kind of a good one to know. I'm trying to think of what else. There are, as you can see, this is the keyboard shortcut. So right on here, it says day, and then to the right, it says D. So day, week, month, year, schedule, and then the 4 days is your set calendar, which I'll be talking about in just a moment. So schedule view is actually one that I like as well. So what schedule view does is it takes out all of the downtime. So it gives you just what's upcoming without any gaps in your calendar. So I'm looking at a view of things to come. And so I like that. Sometimes I look at it that way just to see, more in detail what's happening. But generally speaking, I prefer the monthly view. So this is how I like my calendar to look, but your mileage may vary. Feel free to switch that. And it's so easy to switch between them, do it as often as you'd like. It's completely user-friendly in that regard. To the right of that, this little 9-dot grid, this is the access to all of the Google apps. So if you want to just jump over and check your Gmail or jump into Docs or whatever it is, that you can find all of that right here. And then this is your Google account on the far right. Okay. On the far right, as far over as we go, my cursor's over right now, with the teal, I'm not sure how that comes through, but light blue, maybe grayish background. These are actually for my browser, not specific. So the Google Calendar stops at the white edge right here. So I do have a right toolbar directly under my photo, or not photo, memoji, or whatever they call those things. And below that, we have some links to useful tools. If you are the kind of person who uses this, Google Keep, which is Google's note-taking function. Here's your task list if you keep track of your to-dos. So I'm going to click on that just so you can see. I don't use my to-dos in Google Calendar. I actually create my to-do list through an app called Anydo, ANY.do, which works well with the Google products, and I really like it. I specifically like the phone app that they have. It's by far the most user-friendly to-do list that I have found, and I am a heavy phone user. I do almost all of my work on my phone. I only do webinars and things like this sitting at a computer. So for me, I don't use this, but a lot of people love to keep their tasks in one place, and having them adjacent to your calendar can be very, very useful. So I just wanted to make sure and point that out because some people might want to use their task list. Here's your link to your contacts. I will click on that as well so you can see what it looks like. So it's your complete contact list that's created through your Google account. So obviously a Google user, I have my Gmail, and these are all of the contacts in my Gmail, which are accessible through my Google Calendar. So if I need to find someone, I can't remember their email address and I want to send them, et cetera, it's all right here. I don't have to jump to another application to find that information. Here's Google Maps, which you can use to search for information, and then you can link that to a specific event or invitation so that people know exactly where it's going to be happening. And then there's the ability to find more add-ons. So the Google Store has a lot of user-created applications that are very, very handy. So Google does what it does, and then people start using it and they think, oh, I wish it did this. And then the ones that have that technical ability will go out in the world and create one that does whatever it is they want it to do. And you can actually get those and add them onto your products. So you can search for that if you're looking for Google Calendar to do more than what it does. You can start there to see if you can find someone else who's already created that for you. All right, so that's around the right-hand side. Over back here to the left, down here, the main menu. We have the giant create button right here, which if I click on the arrow, gives you the ability to see what kinds of things we can create. One small caveat, if you are using your own, if you're following along at home, you may not have all of these. I know for certain that the appointment schedule is actually an advanced or possibly even paid function. My Google account is through my company, So they pay for it and we have the full package or whatever it is called. But if you have a personal or free Google account and you're using Google Calendar, you may not have some of these. If you are through a school or office and you don't have something that I have available there, talk to your administrator. You might have it and maybe they just don't have it turned on. So keeping that in mind. Mostly, I think that you would find full functionality even without the ability to do appointment scheduling. So below, sorry about that, below the create button, which when I close that main menu, the create button doesn't go away. It just becomes that plus sign. So clicking on that brings you that sub menu to let you choose what kind of calendar setting you want to create. So below that, this is sort of the navigation calendar. That's how I refer to it. I actually spent a while looking this up and I couldn't find what does Google call it? What's the name for this calendar? And then I was watching some YouTube videos and they're calling it all sorts of things. One lady kept calling it the small calendar. And I was like, okay, that works. For me, I think best for its function, it's the navigation calendar. It's a quick way to jump around. If I try to jump around on the main page, I have to be careful not to hit an event. Otherwise, it's just going to give me the information about that specific event. And so it's just easier to navigate. If I want to see what's happening on Thursday, it's easier just to click on the Thursday on here, and then it tells me. It brings up the view, the day view for that particular day, and shows me the events that are available on that day. So, so I call it the navigation calendar, and you can move between months, jumping around here on the navigation calendar to find out what it is that you're interested in, and find quick at a glance information. Below that, below the navigation calendar, I am going to jump back to today really quick and switch back to that monthly view. We have the ability to search for people. So if you're trying to set up a meeting, you can do a search in here for a specific person and then use them as a starting point to create a meeting, which I'm going to show you how to do meetings in just a second. The time insights is something that I do believe is an advanced feature. So if it's not something that you have, again, talk to your administrator or your organization. If it's a personal free account, you may not have this and would have to upgrade to get access to this. But what it does, I'm going to just open it really quick, is it's constantly reassessing your calendar and the things that you have scheduled on your calendar to give you an overview of how long do you spend in meetings, how long do you spend with this person or that person. You can click on, more insights. And as that rolls, it takes a second to load. I'm not sure if it's calculating once I click it, and that's why it takes a moment, or if it's just particularly sluggish today. It's hard to say. Oh, come on, Google. All right, well, there we go. Okay, so then it gives you kind of a breakdown. So then it's giving me a suggestion for focus time. So the day of the week that I have the fewest meetings is Fridays. So if it says I'm looking for find time in my schedule that I can kind of close everything off and just focus on my work, Fridays are the best day for me, according to that. And it's giving me the option to schedule that focus time right now here in the insights. And then it's just sort of breaking down my working hours. If I were the administrator, I would be able to see all of the people down here. Here's the people I meet with the most. At least in the month of October, which is the date that we're looking at up here. If I were the administrator, I would be able to see this insights for every person who has calendar access under me, so under my umbrella. I am not the administrator of my calendar. My boss is, so she could see her calendar and mine and our other employees as well. So she could see all of our calendars and get the insights and kind of see, where we're shining and where we could maybe beef things up, where there's gaps in the schedule, things like that. So it could be a useful production tool if you are a manager or a team leader or something like that. That could be certainly useful to you, but it's not a necessary function. If you're looking for a calendar, you don't really need it. It does a lot of things really well. So below the time insights, we have the actual calendars. So you notice I said calendars, plural, because Google Calendar gives you the option of making many, many, many calendars. You can create calendars for everything that you possibly could dream of. You can also, so my calendars, these are calendars that I have created or calendars to which I have edit functionality. So I can control them in some way. These calendars down below, the other calendars, are calendars which I can observe, but I can't actually interact with them. I can't make changes to Ann Walker-Smalley's calendar, although I can see her calendar. So these are all customizable by color. So Ann Walker-Smalley is my boss, in case anyone doesn't know that. She is my boss. And so she has two calendars, her personal and her work calendar, both integrated here. And I have chosen to make them both green to represent her. I don't need to know the differentiation between them. I just want to know anything that's Ann's pops up on my calendar in green. Metronet Drive, that dark red calendar, that's our office. That's a collective term for our office. So that applies to all of us in the office. The admin is our other employee. And then there's a holiday calendar, and then these are my calendar, a calendar I created for one of my projects that I work on that had a lot of events, and I could create calendars for other things. So it's very easy to create calendars. You can do that in here at any time, and I'm going to walk you through that step by step here. But just to give you an idea, you can create calendars. So maybe if you want to do your work calendar and then like a personal calendar, and maybe you want to share a family calendar. So you want to have your spouse and your children on there, or your partner and your children, whatever works for you, or maybe a workout calendar or a book club calendar, or whatever the case may be. You can create calendars for each individual thing. So if you're the leader of your book club and you're responsible for scheduling the events and doing the social activities and picking the books and all the sorts of things that have to happen, you can create a calendar just for that and then schedule within that. And then you can color code them and choose what is visible. So I also have a reminders and tasks, and then Todoist, which is a to-do list that I used to use before I came across AnyDo that I mentioned earlier. And I never loved Todoist, but they had a calendar as well, which I don't link on there. So, but I can at any time. So tasks, I can put that on there. Or how about, I'm going to unclick that. I think I have a reminder set. See, on Sunday, I have to do the laundry at 1 o'clock. So reminders is something that you can add as well. And like I said, you can click those on and off. To the right of any calendar, you see the little 3 dots. That gives you the options for that particular calendar. So the options are pretty simple. It's display this only. So this is a quick way to shut down the other calendars and just clean it up. So right now it seems like there may be a lot of clutter on there. Some people don't like that. So you can kind of close off everything else and just look at this calendar if you want to. There's settings, and then here's where you can actually change those colors. And then down here, you can add a custom color. So if you don't like the presets, you can go ahead and make any color in that big hexadecimal scale that they give. So there's also some settings that you can do. You can change the name, give it a description. I've never really found the need for that. Some people might, I don't know. I don't know how you're going to set it up, but for me, I feel like the calendar itself, the name kind of gives the description. Time zone for your calendar. Who owns it? If I want to export it, so I want to send it to a different service that I'm using, you can certainly do that. I know people have gone on like their iPhones, and I've heard that Fantastical is a really great calendar. And then you might need to export your Google Calendar into Fantastical so that you can see all of that information within the one calendar. And then permissions for your calendar as well. So there's, specific people. You can add people that can see your calendar. You can lock it down so that your calendar is more private. You can get notifications. So if you want notifications just for this calendar, maybe I don't care about other ones, but for this one, I want specifically to be notified before any event. It can tell you what kind of notification do you want? Do you want an email, or do you want a notification which will pop up on your computer or your phone? And when, how long, in minutes, hours, days, weeks, et cetera, et cetera. And you can do multiple notifications. So maybe you want to get notified of a meeting a week before, a day before, an hour before, and 5 minutes before. That's fine. You can set it up that way and it will do that. So a lot of fun things that you can do here with the calendars, and you can kind of dig around in these, but I'm going to go over this in general when I look at the settings for all calendars rather than just that specific one. I'm seeing a couple things in the Q&A. Let me just pop in there real quick. FYI, the chat is disabled. I don't know what that means. Does that mean you guys can't see the link that I put in the chat? No, multiple people are in the slide deck that I shared. So at some point, the chat must have worked. So Karen, if you're having some issues, let me know, okay? We can see the chat, but we can't contribute to it. Thank you, Grace. That was very helpful. Let's try that. I just changed the permissions. So see if you can go ahead and drop something. That worked, says Grace. Thank you, Grace. That was really helpful. All right. I was assigned as the boss in the library. How can I include my assistant librarian in my Google Calendar? Okay. So in order to do that, your assistant librarian has to have a Google account. So make sure that they have a Google account. And then what you can do, sorry, I'm reading, and let me jump back over here to the chat. So if you want to add your assistant, you can come here to other calendars and hit add other calendars. And then you can subscribe to her calendar if all you want to do is view it, or you can create a new calendar for her that appears in there that you can connect to her Google account. And I can actually send out some instructions. Again, with the importing and the exporting, I was reading about them because this is not something I spend a lot of time doing, like importing and exporting calendars. I've pretty much been a Google user all along. And so I'm one of the lucky few who didn't have to jump between. So for me, I didn't have that, but I was looking it up, and it's straightforward enough, but it's a little more complicated than I thought justified talking about today. So if you would like more information on that, I can definitely add some links that I can send out to the group as well. But back to this, subscribing to someone's calendar. So if you just want to see what your employee's calendar is, go ahead and type in their Google email address here, and then you will have access to that calendar, and it will appear on your calendar list right here. Her or his or her or their name will pop up here under other calendars. So you will have access to viewing that as well. And I think I got them all. Okay, I think we're back on track there with the Q&As. So what else was I going to mention? Adding other calendars. I mentioned that browsing calendars of interest can be fun. So there's some different options in here. Some people like the holidays. So I have holidays in the US, which I have navigated to be public holidays only, as opposed to public and other holidays. The other holidays was getting just a little too, I really want to know what are the bank holidays, because those are the days I don't have to work, right? So that's why I'm interested in those. So I have that on there. But you can add all sorts of different holiday calendars. There are sports calendars. I am not much of a sports fan, but maybe you are a Mexican Pacific Baseball League fanatic and you want to include their schedule in your Google Calendar. You can do that right here. All sorts of things. So there's plenty of things. Phases of the moon. I actually have that on my calendars because periodically I found it, I kind of get aggravated with it, but I'm going to click it on here. But every so often, it's just nice to be like, when's the next full moon? Oh, we just had it on the 9th, so I'm good to go, kind of thing. But I don't leave it on all the time because, as you can see, the calendar gets cluttered enough without it. So, okay, so that is the main menu. The next thing I'm going to show you is the create, which I keep accidentally clicking on the screen and making that create happen. So create, the thing that I use more than anything is the event. That's your basic create an item on your calendar. Okay. Focus time is relatively new. Apple also does their focus time. So if you're an iPhone user, I don't know, maybe Androids do something too. I'm not an Android user, so I don't know, but they might have something similar to that. But Apple's really been pushing the focus time. So that's something that's been all over the phones and the iPads, trying to, convince you to schedule some time to just, disconnect from your devices and focus more on, whatever matters. And so you can do that here with your work calendar or your personal calendar. You can schedule out of office. Working location is also newer. I think that's sort of a pandemic reaction entry. So if you want to put on there like where you are, if you are working remotely, but you bounce around, maybe you go from coffee house to coffee house and you want to put your working location on there so people can find you, you can do that. You can create tasks. And then if you have access, you can do that appointment scheduling. And what that will do is if you have a recurring or regular appointment with certain people, you can create a schedule through here and it will just populate it throughout. And if you're looking to find time to create a regular schedule, it will search your calendar and see, well, we suggest this is the best time for you to do this because you very rarely have meetings at this day at this time, kind of thing. So it's kind of cool, but it's not really that necessary because you can get all of that information through the other things, primarily through event. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, the event. And when you do, that pops up this new window. So this is your scheduling. Now, again, once I click on that event, it is ready to go and it's set to event, but I can still switch. If I decide once I've clicked event, oh, actually what I wanted to do was out of office, I can certainly still do that from here. I don't have to start over. I can switch it from right in here. So creating an event, the first thing you want to do is give it a title. So I'm going to call this one demo. So if I forget to delete it later, I know exactly what it was. And then here's your date and time options. So you can switch the date, selecting this, pick whatever date that you want it. We're going to demo it for Wednesday. It's prompting me to 5 to 6 p.m. because that's the next upcoming hour from right now, from when I am doing it. But clicking on that gives you the ability to go up and down and do that in 15-minute increments starting at any time. So let's say 10 a.m. Google pre-populates meetings to 60 minutes, but in the settings that I'm going to show you shortly, I'm going to show you how to change that. So if you are regularly working on 30-minute meetings, or maybe your 90-minute meetings, or whatever the case may be, and you would prefer that the default be that, so you weren't changing it every single time, you can definitely do that. Also all day, if you'd prefer to set it to all day or time zone. And then from here, you can create a repetition for this event. So daily, you can do it weekly, you can do it every other week, you can do it on the first Thursday of the month, you can do, I mean, there's all sorts of things. And then you can even come down and do custom and make it as finite as you need to, so that you get the exact schedule that you want for your particular event. This blue find a time right here. So if you're going to be working with someone, you have a new partner that you're going to be working on a project with, and you have to find regular times to meet and so on and so forth. And they're in your organization and you're under the same umbrella of the Google calendars. So you have access to view, even if you choose not to, but you do have access to view their calendar. You can add them as a guest and find a time for the two of you to meet. So right now, the only guest is me, but if I were to add my boss in there, just because why not? So I can do that, and finding a time to meet, it's going to look through our schedules and suggest, it's showing us here what's on Wednesday that I've picked, what's available and what's not. So the grayed out stuff that is unavailable. This is the suggestion, the thing that's fading in and out, getting darker, fading out. It's saying this is a good time for you guys to meet right here, et cetera, et cetera. So it's looked through our calendars and done that. You can also see those suggested times in a list format, if that's easier for you to read than the grid format of the calendar. So it will help you find, and I've already set it to this day. If I have not, it will give you suggestions it'll give you a much longer list. If you don't narrow it down by day, or at least a couple of days, it's going to give you a long list of times that will work. But it's a good way to find times to meet, and rather than going out and having to create a poll or something that people send. I mean, if you don't have access, you're not in the same organization, sometimes that's your only option. But if you are in the same organization, this is a much quicker way to find that information and create your schedule. You can also have it as a Google Meet. So Google Meet is Google's answer to Zoom, more or less. And we'll actually be doing a Google Meet Learnabout. So this style next month or the month after. I have it at the end of the slide deck. It's on there. We'll be talking more about that, but you can set it up as a Google Meet so that when you sends out the invitation, the Google Meet is right on there. So they'll have the link to go ahead and join your meeting, or you can add a location. So if you guys are going to meet at the local Starbucks, but there's 20 local Starbucks, you can click this, you can put in specifically what Starbucks. So when the invite goes out to the person that you've invited to your meeting, it says specifically where you want to meet them, along with a link to the map. You can add a description, so you can write about your meeting. Why are we meeting? Or especially if it's kind of out of the blue, or they weren't going to be expecting this. You can create notes for the meeting, add attachments. So it's a good place to add, if you want them to read a document beforehand, or you want to put the agenda for the meeting, something like that, you can add that right here. Here's what calendar it's going to show on. and what color. So the color corresponds to the calendar that it's set at, but you can select it for this individual event. So the calendar will remain that purple color, but I can make this event flamingo. So when I schedule it, it will appear on my calendar in that particular color. So I do this if I'm doing a recurring event, something that's going to pop up. Usually I like all of the things that are my work calendar, which is this calendar, the Olivia Morris calendar, to remain that purple. So everything work related is purple. But if I'm doing like a recurring event, sometimes I might like to change that so that it stands out to me as, oh yeah, this is that thing that I'm going to be doing every other Tuesday from now until whenever, kind of thing. So that it may be useful to you. You can show it on your calendar as busy or free. Visibility is sort of like security. If you prefer it to be public or private, it defaults to just the people in your organization or just the people in your that have access to this calendar is the default, but you can change that if you would like. And then here again, there's the ability to do those notifications. You can set that up. And you can add more, again, if you'd like to have multiple notifications. So all of that is what you get with just a basic, here's, I want to add a calendar request. I am going to discard this because actually, you know what? I'm not. I'm just going to go up to the top here. Demo, done. And then the blue save button and hit save. And the reason that I did that is just so you can see that immediately on my calendar now, 10 a.m. on Wednesday, the 19th, I have demo, and it is colored that flamingo color. I have to say, having seen flamingos before, I think that is a poor representation of the color of a flamingo, but not really the point of our conversation today. I just wanted to point it out because that's barely even pink. I don't know what it looks like to you guys. On my computer, it's barely even pink. So that is how you do that create. Another way to do that exact same thing is to go to the day that you want. So that was Wednesday. Let's say Friday, I wanted to create something. And instead of coming over here and clicking create and starting all of that, I can start on Friday and simply click on the day. And the minute I do that, this box pops up and it wants you to create an event on that day. It's already set to that day. It's going to default to all day until I go ahead and add a time to it. But more or less, it is the exact same thing that you're going to do here to create your own. That's just sort of a shortcut version for it. So that is that. Here is the one that I just created, the 10 a.m. demo. I'm going to right click on this meeting. When I do that, you'll notice, excuse me, there's a small menu that pops up. You can either join the meeting. So if it has a Google Meet set up or a Zoom set up, and it's linked through the invitation, you can join it right like this. Just boop, you don't have to click on it, open it, and go to that. Just click join. Here's where I can delete it. I can also add a label to it. So if I want to change the color or change the name, I wanted to say, call it recurring meeting or whatever it is that I choose to call it. Maybe I don't like multiple calendars, but I want to call this book club. So I know it's one of the book club events that I'm doing, etc. You can do that right there and also change that color. But I am going to delete this because I don't need that demo on my calendar. So that covers pretty much everything on the main page. There's so much clutter from Zoom all over this. I didn't show you this right-hand toolbar here with the keep, tasks, calendar, etc. You can actually hide that. So there's a little arrow in the lower right-hand corner, and you can go ahead and hide that if you don't want it visible. Again, you can hide the left toolbar by clicking this main menu button, and so you can view your calendar more or less full screen at this point, if you would prefer. So that brings us back to the settings menu. So on the settings drop down, we have settings. We have trash, which I'm going to briefly touch upon because it's good to know. When you click on trash, you have the ability to restore a deleted event. So occasionally you might accidentally click on something and delete it. Or maybe somebody said this meeting is canceled. And so you clicked on it and deleted it. And then they said, oh, nope, just kidding. It's not canceled, but you've already deleted it. You can restore them here. By going to the trash, you can select which calendar you're looking at and find the events. They only keep them for 30 days in here. But if it's within 30 days, you can very easily go ahead and you can click on them, restore them, or to this right, you can simply restore it by clicking this right here. You can also permanently delete them or empty your trash. As it's pretty minimalist in the trash, but it is useful to know because at some point, everybody's going to delete something off their calendar that they wish they hadn't. And that's how you fix that if it's within 1 month. Below that, here's that add-ons again. I mentioned earlier the apps that you can get for the Google Calendar. You can find that here. If you want to print your calendar, I'm going to just show you this. I have a friend who at the start of every month prints off a physical paper calendar and hangs them up on the wall, which boggles the mind because I'm like, do you reprint it every time you add? Nope, they write them in by hand. And I was like, I don't really understand the whole paper and digital calendar, but to each their own. For me, I'm in love with the digital calendar that I can take everywhere. My iPhone, my iPad, my laptop has it. I'm covered no matter where I'm at. But if you do want to print your calendar, it is, print options, etc. It is available for you to do that as well. Density and color does not have a lot going for it. The only thing in here that I think is of note, if you'll notice these color blocks, these dark color blocks, and it says off, Home Depot, Sierra, and all of that was written in white, you can actually change that to black. So if you prefer visually, some people prefer this. They think the black stands out better. Some people prefer the white. It's up to you, but that's how you can change that if you're curious. Just a fun little tip that might help down the road. And then the main thing that you will find under the settings wheel is the actual settings for Google Calendar. Over here on the left, this is the navigation menu. It will show you everything. So it defaults to showing you the general settings. I'm going to close that for a second. And then there's the other things related to the calendar. Now, all of this, I already showed you when I click on this calendar. This is the same as when I clicked from, let me back up, from the calendar. And I went down here to this calendar and clicked on this, the 3 dots, and then hit settings. Here's your settings for this particular calendar. Okay. And again, going through the settings menu into settings and navigating down to that calendar gets you to the same place. Okay. So that's just sort of a redundant method, but Google loves their redundancies. They build them into everything that they do. It's actually what makes them user-friendly. That's why people like Google, because if you don't have to think about it so hard. It's like, there's always an easy way to find it. So, and there's pretty much always more than one easy way to find it. So the general settings are the ones that I want to draw attention to. And we will begin. It's the first one on here is language and region. Now, basic stuff, setting up the date, the format of your date, etc. Some things that I think are very interesting to know is the secondary time zone. If maybe you have a company that works in a couple different offices and they're not both local to you, you may, even if you're not traveling, you may want to be able to see that second time zone so you can see what time your colleagues in the other office are working or what time their project is going to be completed, et cetera, et cetera. So that's, I think, really useful that you can add that on there and have more than one time zone set for your own calendars. Also, I have this selected to ask me to update my primary time zone in my current location. So if you travel for work or for whatever reason, it won't automatically change your Google Calendar to the current time zone. It will ask you before it does. Some people prefer to have their time zone stay with where the work is going to be happening. It's up to you. I just think it's easier to have it ask than I can make the decision myself. If you like a world clock, you can have a world clock. There's an option for it right here. Earlier, I said Google defaults to 60-minute meetings. That's right here. Event settings, default duration. And here are your options. So if your meetings aren't normally 60 minutes long, then go ahead and switch this so that when you're setting up those events in calendar, it will default to a 30-minute meeting. So it'll show 10 to 10:30 or whatever, so that your meeting times, so you're not futzing with your calendars quite as much and your meetings are represented a little more accurately. So 60 minutes is best for me, but I'm not, as you can see, I'm not going over every single setting in here because, well, this isn't a 3-hour tutorial. So I'm just kind of highlighting the ones that I think are really, really useful. We talked about notifications. Here is where you can create your notifications. Again, you can do this. You can turn them off altogether, having your desktop notifications. So something is popping up in your computer to say you have a meeting coming up in 5 minutes. or getting alerts, et cetera, et cetera. So you can kind of play that, set it up the way you would like it, and then when you want it to be snoozed, et cetera, or have the ability to snooze it. View options. I think this is very, very useful. So if this is your work calendar and your work calendar only, maybe you don't want Saturday and Sunday represented on there because that's family time. So you can turn off the ability to show weekends. You can show or not show declined events. I choose to show them because I get invited to a lot of events that I may not be able to attend, but I may be able to track down information about or view a webinar or something like that. So I do like to have them on there so I can track down that information if I need it, but a lot of people don't because they think it makes the calendar look more cluttered. It's up to you. Week numbers. This is something I've noticed in the education world they particularly love. My teacher friends always know what day of the school year it is. If there are teachers, I'm sure you're nodding along going, yeah, I know what day of the school year it is. It's whatever day. I have no idea what day it is. I am not a teacher, not a public school teacher or anything like that. I teach you adults who want to learn more. So week numbers, it will show you what week of the year we are in on the calendar. What else? Which day of the week do we start? You can select that, which day is what. The custom view, I think, is nice. So this is an option. I mentioned this earlier when I was showing you day, month, week, et cetera, and how to switch between them. There's an option for custom view. It's preset to 4 days. I don't know why, but maybe you like to plan your schedule 2 weeks at a time or whatever the case may be, 2 days at a time, 3 days at a time. You can set that here, whatever your custom is. Maybe I want to look out. I'm gonna just go with 2 weeks just for fun. For 2 weeks, you can do that. And then when you go back to your calendar and you do your settings, now it is 2 weeks. So I can click that and I get a 2-week overview of my calendar. So if you work within a schedule or something where the schedule rotates and changes regularly, it might help you to have that customized view of your calendar. So you should know that it is an option. We already talked about the time zones. Where were we? We were down to view options. Yes. Events from Gmail. This can be very useful. I don't know if everyone will find it, so I find it useful. So when somebody sends me an event, or most recently, I'm going to the Minnesota Library Association's annual conference at the end of this month. And when I booked my hotel, they sent me a confirmation to my email, my Gmail account. And as soon as they sent it to me, it popped up on my calendar. So I have this selected. And so when Gmail reads something that says an event has dates and times associated to it, it pops up in my calendar. I can go in and delete that easily, but it's just there. I don't have to add it, and it makes it a lot easier for me to view. I don't forget things and like, oh, I forgot to add that to the calendar kind of thing. It just pops up there. Working hours and locations. This, I think, has become a lot more relevant since the pandemic in 2020, but you can set your working hours. So if those now vary, if you're working from home or wherever, if you're working from other locations, you can do that. So you can do a daily, week. A lot of people have different schedules. Their schedule isn't the same every day. Mine is, I work 10 to 6 Monday through Friday. So there's that. And I always work from the same location. So for me, it's pretty straightforward, but I still do have it set up that way so that when things come in, if someone invites me to a meeting at 9 a.m., it will actually pop up on my calendar and say, you are not scheduled to work at this time, or something that's not worded quite like that. But it gives me a notification that it's outside of my normal working hours. So I have the option to accept or reject that based on those criteria. I'm going to jump over a lot of this. Keyboard shortcuts, I'm going to talk about those. I did mention them already, but I'm going to talk about those more in a little bit when I get to tips and tricks. I love keyboard shortcuts. So if you want to use them, you have to enable them. So make sure this box is checked. Viewing your calendars offline. So all of the Google products are available offline. It does say they don't do reminders and tasks, but it does show your events. So you can turn on the offline calendar. I don't ever need it. I'm not usually in an offline situation, but there it is. I'm going to skip the appointment schedules because we already talked about that. Not everyone has access to that. So that covers the majority of the things that you can do in the settings. There's a lot more that it will do, but you don't necessarily need all of those things. or not stuff that we need to talk about in this particular session. So adding calendars, here is again, another way to do that. Coming in here and you can subscribe to someone's calendar. You can create your own. So like I said, if you wanted to do a book club calendar, I just hit create. Here's my new calendar. I'm going to call it book club. I'm not going to give it a description because I think book club is self-explanatory. Same time zone, I own it. And boom, I'm going to create it. So now it's going to take just a second. And it was successfully created. It says here at the bottom, I can configure it through here, but I'm actually going to take you back to the main calendar page. And now here's me, my birthdays, and then the next thing on there is the new book club calendar. So there's nothing on it as the moment because you saw I just created it, but now I have the ability to add things to that calendar if I wanted. If I don't, if I created that by mistake or it turns out I don't need it, or maybe just as a demo, if I was teaching people how to use Google Calendar, you can come in here and settings for settings and sharing, and there is a delete this calendar right here at the very, very bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that one. All right, so that takes care of the settings in calendar. I'm also going to switch back to that monthly view just because I like it. And I think that covers all of the things that I wanted to show you. So let me very quickly jump over to the slide deck. Tour of calendar, check. Keyboard shortcuts. Oh, I mentioned that already. So I showed you where you could find keyboard shortcuts, how to enable them in the settings. And I also told you how you can switch between the day, the month, the week, the year, your custom setting, or your daily schedules. But the nicest thing about keyboard shortcuts is if you need to use them and you don't know what the keyboard shortcut is, hitting the question mark, not in the search function. That's not where I wanted to be. Just on this, when you're on the screen, just hit question mark, and punching that in as a keyboard shortcut itself shows you your keyboard shortcuts right there on the screen. So that's fabulous. They just pop up and you can see how to use them right there. I don't know if everyone in the world likes keyboard shortcuts quite as much as I do. I'm a huge fan. Considering that I just told you guys I work almost primarily from my phone, I realize how much I miss the keyboard shortcuts from when I was working on the computer, but I like them. I think they're very useful. For a particular date, how can all appointments or activities be listed instead of 2 more or 3 more, etc.? That is a very good question. And there's a couple of ways that you can look at that. First of all, you can change your view. Okay. So if you don't want to do, let me go back to that monthly. So the monthly, and then you see where it says what she's asking about is here. It says on Thursday, here's 2 events you can see, and then it says 2 more. So there's more events here and she wants to see. So what I can do is, first of all, if you do the daily view, then you have everything all in one day. So that is one way that you can access that. Or also maybe your custom view gives you that, because they're bigger boxes. So this custom view that I had set up to look at the upcoming 2 weeks, now you see that 2 days and the 2 things that fall behind it. So those would be the easiest ways to change that. I believe there is a setting. Let me take a look here. No, I don't see it on there. It might be in general settings and I just missed it. View options. Yeah, I'm not seeing. I thought there was a setting that you could change the size of the view, but I might be wrong about that. I might be mixing up something else that I had read. So I'm going to say that the easiest way for you to do it is to simply change your view. If you prefer to do it, set it up so it looks like this, so you can actually see everything all on one page. But if you don't do that, if the 2 more, etc., it's very easy. Just click on it and it will show you. It will blow up that box and So you can see that what else is on that particular day. So for instance, on the 6th and then 3 more, if you hit that, it shows you the whole thing, everything that was on there. So it's pretty easy to view, but I think just changing your view, the monthly one has to fit so much. I mean, again, also, if you go to year, you know, you lose a lot in the year. You have to just kind of pick a day and whatever. This is more, I think, for me, it's for reference. If someone's like, you know, what day of the year, what day of the week is Christmas? Oh, it's really easy to look and say, oh, it's Saturday, you know, Sunday. Sorry, completely read that wrong. That first S is for Sunday. So I'm going to switch back to month. So hopefully that answered your question. Okay, from the Philippines, I'm having difficulty in learning more time zone for a scheduled meeting. How does Google Calendar help me? Okay, let me get back to that in just a second, okay? Because we are running a little short on time. I only have a few minutes left, and I want to show you a couple more things that you can do on here. I've already shown you how you can right click on anything to change its color. I showed you how to do deleted events. I'm going to show you drag and drop, Cal New, and daily agenda very quickly. Daily agenda is a cool thing for some people. Some people won't like it, but again, this is for everyone. So daily agenda, I think, is under events from Gmail. Or maybe I was completely wrong. All right. Now I've gone right past it and completely missed wherever it was. Oh, you know why? Because I'm not in the right thing. I'm sorry. I've gotten all flustered here. I didn't mean to. So I'm going to jump over here to this setting for my calendar. So for this calendar, here we go. For notifications for my calendar, the daily agenda, which is this bottom one here under the notifications, right now it's set to none. You can change this to email. And then what's going to happen is that every workday at 5 a.m., it's going to send you your daily agenda. So it's going to give you a breakdown. Here's what's coming for you today. So if you're one of those people that has every minute of your day scheduled out, sometimes it might be helpful to have that in a one-page summary. Here is your daily agenda. So you can definitely do that and set it up. The downside is you have to do it for each individual calendar. You can't do it you can't get a daily agenda across all calendars. So if you want to know for your calendar and your workout calendar and your book club calendar and your XYZ calendar, you have to get a different email for each one of them. So that is a drawback, but for someone who's doing everything on one calendar, it may be helpful to have the daily agenda. All right, cal.new. If you open up a new tab or a new browser and you type in cal.new, it will open up the ability to create a new schedule. So if you don't have your calendar open, if your calendar were closed, like mine is open in this tab, so it's very easy to do that. But if it's closed and someone says, oh, quick, can we create a calendar invite, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you can just do in your browser cal.new and then boom, get everything set up right here and it will save it into your calendar. You'll notice right here, my Google account is on there. So it's going to save it to my Google Calendar and saving me the trouble of having to first navigate to the apps, open calendar, wait for it to open, blah, 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 blah. This is much faster. So it's a great little shortcut for you. And daily agenda, cal.new, drag and drop. Drag and drop was the other one that I wanted to show you really quick because I also think it's useful. So if you have an event that you have created and then I'm having dinner this evening. And so this dinner, the friend said, oh, I can't do it. Can we move it to Wednesday, 6 o'clock on Wednesday? I can just click and drag and move it over to Wednesday. See how easy that was? Instead of having to click on it, go to the edit function, open it up, switch the date, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to switch it back to the 17th just because that's when it is. And now I've got a notification about it as well. But if you do need to move something, that is a quick and easy way to do it. And very quickly in the chats, love that feature in the Q&A. I think I've covered all the Q&A except for the question from the Philippines, and she will just hang on. The woman who asked that, please just hang on and I will answer that in just a moment. Tips and tricks, upcoming events. November 14th, we are doing Google Meet next month. December, Google Secrets. This is a compilation of all the cool things that I have learned in studying these Google. So I'm going to just, if you've not gone to them, come to this. It's like the ultimate tips and tricks. I'm going to just cover all the coolest things, the features that I have found that you will find really useful. Registration for any of our events is at this link. And someone asked earlier, where can I find previous recordings? This is the link to that YouTube channel. Please, please, please feel free to watch any of our videos on there, especially our Learnabouts, and drop us some feedback. If you want to get in touch with me, my address is on the final slide at the bottom. This is always in the way whenever I don't need it there. Olivia@metronet.lib.mn.us. Feel free to drop me a line if you have a question or a comment, anything at all. If you have a suggestion for something you'd like me to do for a future Learnabout, please go ahead and drop those there. Thank you all so much for coming. This concludes our Learnabout Google Calendar, and I hope that I will see you at future events. Thanks so much. Hey there. I'm going to go with,
Hi.
is it Amian?
Yes,
Hi, well, thanks for coming.
thank you. Thank you for accommodating also me.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
So you're from the Philippines, but you're not in the Philippines, is that right?
I'm in the Philippines.
You are in the Philippines. How on earth did you find out about this webinar from the Philippines?
I tried to Google it on the ATLA database or ATLA website for the webinars among librarians.
Well, that is amazing. I'm so glad that you came. So you said you're having difficulty with time zone for a schedule meeting. Tell me more about your difficulty.
This is my first time to attend a webinar outside from the Philippines, so I'm not used on time zone. I tried to ask what would be the time zone for this certain right now. I get information. Oh, it's 5 o'clock in the morning here in the Philippines, October 18.
Oh, it's currently 5 a.m. and you're up watching my webinar? Wow,
Yes.
you deserve a gold star. Okay,
you.
so I think I understand. So what Google Calendar will do is if you schedule an event, so if you add this event to your Google Calendar, what it's going to do is if your time zone is set to your local time in the Philippines, if you click on this event, which mine is set to Central Standard Time in the United States, once you put it in there, it's going to automatically transfer the time to your current time. So I scheduled at 4 p.m. on the 17th. When you add it to your calendar, it would switch it to 4 a.m. on the 18th. Does that make sense?
Okay, I haven't. Yes, I haven't checked that yet, but I will. I will now do that.
Okay, yeah, it does it by setting your local time zone. So in the settings of the calendar, when you set your local time zone, you put your time zone in the Philippines. Anything you add, no matter what time it is in, it will automatically schedule it in the current local time for you. You won't have to figure it out. It will schedule it that way.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Did that answer your question?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Is there anything else I can do for you?
I guess that's for now.
Okay. Well, you have my email address. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to help.
Yes, I will. I will, Olivia.
All right. Good luck to you. Thank you for coming, and maybe go take a nap or something. It's so early there.
I'll be preparing for office now.
Okay. Well, thanks again for coming.
Thank you too. Thank you.
All right.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. Bye.